Now, China is one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, and as Liling mentioned, it voted in support of that resolution. For more on China's stance and its fight against terrorism, let's talk to Teng Jianqun. He's director of the Center for Arms Control at China Institute of International Studies. Mr. Teng, welcome to the program.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the terror attacks in Mali? That's where I want to get started. We understand 3 Chinese nationals are among those who lost their lives. A tough day for China.
It's really challenging for the people there. I think the Chinese position is very clear that the Chinese government has been against any terrorists in China and abroad. Actually, this is a common challenge for the international community. So China sometimes has been very cautious on this issue, but I think recent development, including the killing of ISIL in Syria and the recent killing of 3 Chinese nationals in Mali, I'm sure will start new thinking on this issue. China might adjust its policy toward the cooperation in international anti-terrorist cooperation. I think this is very important. So we will have new measures taken to protect the Chinese and to protect the people, innocent people.
Let me move on to the Xinjiang region. We're understanding there was a major terror operation there. Security forces killed 28 terrorists after massive manhunt. Can and will China shift from fighting terrorism, mainly homegrown in its own territory, to joining global effort? And I wrote down what you said. You said China will do new thinking moving forward.
Yeah, this is really a common challenge as we discussed just now. I'm sure Chinese government will think about its policy toward the terrorism, not only in Xinjiang. Actually, at the United Nations, as we just saw in the video, Chinese delegation voted for the proposal or resolution. I think this is a new frontier for the Chinese government to attach great importance to the joint cooperation in United Nations. And in terms of the change of China's policy toward terrorism, home and abroad, I think there are at least 2 obstacles. The first is the capability. Can China send its air force to the Middle East to strike the ISIL in some countries? This is really a challenge for the Chinese military. The second is that China can change its policy. It's a long-standing policy by the Chinese government, no intervention in the other countries' domestic affairs. But this time, the challenge of terrorism is not internal affairs; it's international affairs. So we should think about the policy China has insisted on for decades.
And we mentioned the 3 nationals who lost their lives in Mali today, and a Chinese hostage was killed by ISIL this week. Do you foresee a time when United States and China would actually work together on fighting terror?
Yeah, this is a topic we discussed for many years, but because the different interests in anti-terrorism, to be frank, the United States sometimes adopted a double standard. They criticize the Chinese efforts in fighting against the terrorists in Xinjiang, but sometimes they prefer to invite China to be a force in fighting against the terrorists in the Middle East, in Afghanistan. So I think this is actually a very important area for the 2 countries to think about. Can China and the United States cooperate in dealing with the terrorist challenge? My idea is that the 2 countries can do that because this is a common challenge. This is a serious challenge, and the 2 countries should put aside its own interests aside and put the common ground for the fighting against terrorism.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Teng Jianqun, thank you so much, sir.